Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we normally round up the biggest results and talking points from across Europe. But as you know, it's deadline day. There was very little football played across Europe during the winter break. So instead we'll talk about some transfers. But before we get stuck into that, Henry Hill is joining me today. Henry, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm very well, thank you, Doogie. Yes, I went on the London Eye yesterday. Can you believe it?
Lovely. First time?
No, I realised 20 years ago I last did it, but I think that's the first time I've ever said out loud that I did something 20 years ago, if you know what I mean. I like that. I not that I am old, but it made me certainly feel a bit older. But yeah, no, I'm very well. Deadline day's it's exciting. I was gutted to see Max Kruse stolen from Union Berlin by Wolfsburg for like 4.5 million euros. And a lot of people on Twitter getting at me about Fabio Carvalho. Heartbreaking. On his way to Liverpool.
Do you think that'll definitely be done?
Yeah, why not? 7 million euros, what is it, for the best young prospect in the Championship? For a club like Liverpool, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for that kind of money. So, gutted for him. Obviously, people like Sessegnon, Patrick Roberts, hasn't quite worked out for them. Harvey Elliott is a success story. But, yeah, you just want him to hang around for a little bit longer. But you can't blame him, and you certainly can't blame Liverpool for that. But anyway, that's my heartbreak, Dukes. How about you? Any Sunderland gossip going on?
I've had serious heartbreak, big man. We lost 6-0 to Bolton on Saturday on a game that I managed to watch in the end after a few nervy moments. Finally got it loaded, and it was just an absolute disaster. Lee Johnson, our manager, was sacked last night.
Oh dear.
That's our fourth manager in 4 years. Despite the fact we're third in the table, the owners just completely panicked after that 6-0 defeat, and we're back to the drawing board. There's names like Neil Lennon, Duncan Ferguson, Roy Keane being linked. Brilliant. I'm not particularly enamoured with any of them, to be honest. I'd have kept it going with Lee Johnson to the end of the season. I think we could have recovered from that point, but yeah, worrying times once again to be a Sunderland fan. But you guys aren't here for Sunderland content. You know, more's the worry, really. So let's get into our headline of the week, because Spurs we expect this deal to be completed before this video goes live, have completed a double swoop for Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur. What's gone on with this one, Henri?
Finally, Spurs have got a deal over the line. Well done. Trust to looks of it. Anyway, it's not 100% confirmed, as you say, but it does look like Fabio Paratici has gone back to his former club, Juventus, to raid them for a few prospects. Two very different deals. Kulusevski, who we've talked about a lot on Eurofootball Daily recently, being really underused by Max Allegri, quite a talented Swedish winger. He's joining on loan with an obligation to buy if Spurs qualify for the Champions League and he makes a certain amount of appearances. That total deal could be about 40 million euros plus add-ons, which, you know, Spurs are in the running for top four, very much involved. I think since Conte has come in, their form has actually on paper been pretty excellent. So this is one that looks like it could happen, I think. And then Bentancur is far simpler. It's a permanent deal worth about 19 million euros plus 6 million in add-ons. Obviously, it looked like Aston Villa were in for him, but they've come and swooped in at the last moment, and fair play to Bentancur. But now Kulusevski and Bentancur will be joining forces at a new home in Tottenham. But will they be a success? If we start on Kulusevski, he's a right winger, buckets of potential, as we've said. He cost Juve about 35 million euros. When they picked him up from Parma. His record of 9 goals and 10 assists in 74 games isn't particularly exceptional for the old lady, but he's only been given 27 starts in the league and Champions League and played under 2 managers in a very complicated time in Juve's history, certainly over the last few years. But the positive for him is it looks like Conte is a huge fan. He wanted him at Inter when he joined Juventus, so clearly he'll be happy to finally have one of his own players on board, I think. And, you know, let's see what he could do. He was voted Serie A Young Player of the Year in 1920 after 10 goals and 9 assists. Let's see if he can try and get some of that form out of him. I think the Premier League will suit Kulusevski quite well over the next 6 months. And yeah, I think if you look at Steven Bergwijn, he's really been struggling for form at that Spurs squad. It just looked like he was heavily linked with going back to Ajax. You've gone in for Ihataren, actually. They've picked him up from Juventus as well. So maybe that move is on hold for now. Not his best season at all. 1 goal, 3 assists in 20 league games. Only 5 starts. Looks like Lucas is head and shoulders ahead of him. So let's see. But I mean, when it comes to Bentancur, Luis Suarez was raving about him, apparently, trying to get Steven Gerrard to buy him for Aston Villa. But what do you make of him, Dukes?
Really? Stevie G and Suarez linking up again in the rumour mill. Love it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bentancur for sure. I mean, unlike Kulusevski, he's actually been a regular at Juve. He's played at least 40 games in each of the last 3 seasons there. He's featured in 19 of Juve's 23 league games this season. He started 13. Only McKennie with 14 and Locatelli with 16 are the only midfielders to have started more for the old lady this term. And he's a solid all-round player. He's particularly effective in terms of ball winning, his defensive work. 4.5 tackles and interceptions so far per 90 this season. Just 0.6 shots, so don't expect massive numbers of goals and assists. Just 0.9 key passes, but that has been much higher in the past. He was creating over nearly 2 chances back in 1920. 1.4 dribbles per 90. Works incredibly hard. 23 pressures per 90. And if you imagine that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is probably the engine of that Spurs side. Really impressed with his work rate so far this season, where he's only competing around 19 pressures per 90, so an extra 4 per 90 from Bentancur. Really, really impressive stuff. Well, the question is, if Bentancur is so good and if Kulusevski's got so much potential, why would Juve be willing to let them go? Well, neither have been at their best this season. I think that's fair to say. Mm-hmm. And according to journalist Alfredo Padula, they are set to make 70 million euros from this 2 deals if all the add-ons are included, which would pay off the majority of the Vlahovic fee. And they've also managed to sign Gladbach's Denis Zakaria on a €5 million contract running until 2026. And that's obviously a real coup for the club. The 25-year-old was a free agent in the summer, hence why the fee was so low. But he's been linked by pretty much every top club in Europe. So yeah, I think it's one of those deals where both sides will probably be quite happy with their business. And Spurs, there's going to be more outgoings today, no doubt. Ndombele supposedly close to joining Lyon. Lo Celso close to joining Villarreal. We'll see whether both those deals get over the line, but maybe even have before this video even goes live. With Spurs 2 points behind Man United in 4th with 2 games in hand, I'd say they've now got a great chance of finishing in the top 4. As for Juve, they are a point behind 4th place Atalanta but have played a game more. But you don't sign Vlahovic for that amount of money and not expect to finish in the Champions League. So the pressure is really on Juve in particular in this scenario, I believe, to get into the top 4. But who do you think has won out of these 2 deals, Henry? Or do you think it's a bit of, both sides are quite happy?
Yeah, I think both sides will be really satisfied with this. Juventus have got a pretty quality central midfielder in Zakaria, and have also managed to sign one of the most exciting strikers of the window. So I think they're well placed to press on, and Juventus as well. Spurs as well. Looks as if they've kind of managed to shift a bit of their, I suppose you could say, deadwood in the squad. Even talk this morning from Gazzetta dello Sport that AC Milan are now looking at Dele Alli. I would be very surprised if he's still a Spurs player for the second half of this season, come at the end of the day. So yeah, I think both will be satisfied for these. Spurs desperately needed a bit more firepower going forwards, and I think in Kulusevski they've certainly got that. He's different to everyone that they've got so far in that position. And Bentancur, really highly rated, and they certainly need a new midfielder as well, if you look at some of the options they've got available. So yeah, for me it's a win-win all round.
I like it. Yeah, it was only a couple of years ago that we were saying Bentancur would be perfect for Man United. So I think this is a bit of a coup from Spurs, but I agree with you. Juve, great business as well. It's just a happy January window for both clubs. Guys, let us know what you guys think of these deals in the comments down below. And let's move on to our other deals we want to talk about.
As Doogie mentioned at the top, we don't have any games to review this weekend. However, we do have transfers to look at. And we're going to kick off with Romain Faivre to Lyon. This comes in from @Proxy Analytics. Love that. Dukes, exciting transfer this one.
Yeah, it is. Lyon have signed Brest's Romain Faivre for €15 million plus add-ons. Now, the 23-year-old has garnered a lot of attention at Brest this year. He can play on the right wing or as a number 10, and he's been pretty sensational for mid-table Brest. I think they're 13th in Ligue 1, so yeah, haven't been pulling up trees as a side, but he's definitely been delivering on his part. 7 goals and 5 assists in 21 league games. That's an involvement in 43% of their total goals. And his numbers, incredibly promising. 1.8 shots, 1.9 key passes, and 2.1 dribbles per 90, which, considering he's playing for an average side, is really pretty impressive. Get this, in the whole of Europe's top 5 leagues, only João Cancelo and Vinicius Jr. have carried the ball into the final third more often.
Ooh.
So I remember writing about this guy a couple of weeks ago for 10 players having underrated seasons, and I compared him to sort of Jack Grealish at Villa last year in terms of his output, what he's good at, etc., his ball carrying ability. So I think this is a very exciting signing for Lyon. But Henry, what do you think this means for their other stars? Because they've got a pretty stacked forward line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought they'd maybe try to replace Bruno a bit more like for like. Maybe that will happen for the end of the day. It looks like Ndombele might be going back there as well. So slightly odd one, especially given they've been playing in a 3-4-2-1 since the start of December. They already have a lot of attacking options. Akombi, he's been super impressive, by the way. Toko Akombi in the AFCON. Really like this guy. I used to doubt him, but I'm very happy to be proven wrong on this occasion. Dembele, as you say, Paqueta, Aouar, Cherki, Kadewere, all in their books. So didn't necessarily look like they needed another forward. Paqueta, he's been brilliant too, hasn't he, this season? 10 goal contributions. So, but look, he's a man in form. As you say, some stunning statistics. Why not? If he's available for 15 million euros plus add-ons, let's face it, if he performs well at Lyon, that's an easy turnover in terms of cash. So, not that Lyon are always looking to sell, but it's a bit of a no-brainer, I think, from them. And fair play, considering they're not in the best position in the table at the moment. They're still managing to attract some of the best talent in France. So, yeah, good for Lyon on this occasion. But if we look at the second deal, Doogie, I mentioned it at the top of the show. I'm sad about this. Max Kruse to Wolfsburg. That comes from at Mark_MC_FIFA123. Very good. He is 33 years old, so to get about 4.5 million euros for him it shows you the kind of position that Wolfsburg are in. But what do you make of this one?
Yeah, I get what you mean in that it's a little bit sad. I mean, he signed an 18-month contract with Wolfsburg, but he has been really stepping up for Union Berlin for quite a while now. He joined them at the start of 2021 from Fenerbahce, and it's proved to be a little bit of a masterstroke. He's got 11 goals and 9 assists in 38 league games for Union, and he's played in 16 of Union's 20 league games so far this season. He's their top assister. Only one player has scored more than his 5 goals as well in the league, so I'm a little bit upset about this. But Wolfsburg, they could certainly, do with the help, couldn't they, Henry?
Yeah, absolutely. They are in a dire situation. I think we talked about that recently, didn't we? They're 15th, 2 points clear of the relegation zone, and it looks like Weghorst is going to Burnley for 15 million euros, which is a snip. Fair play to them. They bought Kevin Paredes as well from DC United so far this window. I'm sure they'll be looking to try and make more additions as they look to beat the drop. Max Kruse, do like that addition. I think he's played there before. He seems to produce every single season. But, I mean, it is a sign of the times that they're having to spend over the odds on a 33-year-old. And, it's difficult. They bought Luka Waldschmidt in the summer. I think he went over to Portugal.
From Benfica.
Yeah, Benfica, and he really hasn't performed that well. So it's things like this that they need to get up and running. Like I said, and Mecha is the only other player at the club to have scored over 2 league goals, aside from Weghorst. So, yeah, they desperately need some firepower if they're going to get out of this sticky situation. Kruse with an average of 0.7 XG and XA per 90, 3.9 shot creating actions. That is massive numbers. That is really massive numbers. He's brilliant. Union will be very, very disappointed to be losing out on him, and I really hope that they can figure out a way to maintain their output along the remainder of the season. But yeah, I mean, Doogie, do you think Wolfsburg are in a better position, or do you still think that the drop could be looming for them?
Well, Weghorst hasn't been at his best this season. I think that's fair to say. And there was sort of talks about his attitude amongst the squad, etc. So I think getting him out maybe wasn't the worst idea, but to do it so late in the window and replace it with an attacking midfielder who, will be probably quite useful for this next 6 months, but they maybe left them a little bit short if he gets injured as well. He is a set piece specialist, so maybe that would improve their output from set pieces, but Wolfsburg, it's a little bit tight down there. I think there are 3 worse teams than them at the moment, but teams like Gladbach, Wolfsburg have got to be careful towards the back end of the season that they don't slowly slip down there, because Gladbach are on a terrible run as well. I think they've only won 1 of their last 8 games, and Max Ebel, their sporting director's left. Dennis Zakaria is of course left over this weekend as well. So tricky situations for lots of Germany's more traditional superpowers, or bigger clubs at least. So yeah, one to watch throughout the end of the year. We just wanted to finish with one club which was suggested by Menez18, and no surprise if you know Menez18 on Twitter. It's about AC Milan. We wanted to talk about whether they've slightly wasted the window, Henry, because lots of the other top clubs in Italy have all strengthened this window, and AC Milan probably needed to. I mean, yeah, loads of their rivals have strengthened.
I agree with you, actually. It is interesting. They've been linked to a lot of players, haven't they? Certainly centre-halves, Botman, Christensen,
Eric Bailly.
Eric Bailly, exactly, but they haven't been able to get any through the door. In the meantime, Inter, as you say, they've got in Guzans, Felipe Saicedo. Napoli have got Tuanzebe. I'm not reading too much into that. But then Atalanta have got Jeremy Boga. And obviously Juventus are strengthening too. Roma having a brilliant window of Sergio Oliveira and Maitland-Niles. But, I mean, yeah, I think Milan's squad is still very strong, and I still think they do have options. But I think a couple of players here and there could have helped them kind of surge forwards, and maybe because they've got an opportunity to win the title here. They're 6 points clear of Atalanta in fourth. But Atalanta, as we said, they've strengthened too. So, I mean, what do you make of the situation? Do you think they can maybe get a centre-back? Do they need a centre-back in before the deadline? Or do you think Romagnoli and Tomori would be sort of enough to sort of see out the campaign?
Well, I think Tomori's out for a couple more months now. So, yeah, I think they definitely need a centre-back in. But I think Milan have shown that they've improved their sort of scouting recently, since even Gazidis came in, since Paolo Maldini was technical director. Like, they don't make stupid, rash decisions anymore, and maybe they just didn't see value in the market right now. It does feel like a massive risk, because their form's not been great either. I mean, they've got 3 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses in their last 7 games. They're now 4 points off Inter, who do have a game in hand. The title looks maybe a little bit beyond them this year. I think they are building something special in Milan and getting back to their former selves. You know, some impressive Champions League performances, if not the results as well. But this felt like a missed opportunity to strengthen, because we've been talking about their weaknesses for a while now. That right wing slot, centre back depth, maybe right back depth as well. And they haven't really made the moves there. So maybe a little bit disappointing from Milan fans. But guys, that's all we've got time for on ERU for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed deadline day and all the madness that is no doubt about to unfold. Hopefully there's some massive moves around Europe as the hours tick on. I think the deadline in Germany's 5 p.m. and I think in Spain and Italy it's earlier than the one in England as well. I think it might be 7. So yeah, hopefully in the next couple of hours there's some big moves around Europe. But Henry, if they've enjoyed this and want to stay in the Football Daily universe, what would you recommend they watch?
Ooh, just quickly, shout out to Bayer Leverkusen for buying Asmoon from Zenit for like 2 million euros. That is, I don't understand how some of these clubs pull off these ridiculously good value deals. And yeah, there's some of these that just slip under the net. He's banged for Zenit, and I'm excited to see if he can step up by Leverkusen. Why weren't the other German clubs looking at him? That's what I want to know. Anyway, if you haven't already, check out our Continental Club from the other day. We looked at maybe teams that have maybe won and lost the window. That was really fun as always. And yeah, stay tuned for all of our deadline day content.
Great. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you later in the week. Goodbye.